Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again. 2Ks, it is great to be back. We took last week off. Much needed vacay for myself and Mrs. Turbo, so it is awesome to be back. There's honestly a lot to talk about, and I was kind of like, do we kind of recap where we were from the last time we met, or do we look forward? But it kind of slapped me in the face yesterday. It's like, no, moron, football is back.
Yeah.
This is our bread and butter. We love baseball, don't get me wrong, but most of our content, most of our followers really love the football content, rightfully so. I mean, it's whether it's fantasy football, whether you have your team, here in Michigan, the Lions are the talk of the town. They are kind of the darlings of the NFL, which rightfully so. They won not only won one playoff game, 2Ks, they won two and damn near made it to the Super Bowl last year. So the expectations are high here in Michigan. I cannot wait. 2Ks, how you doing over there, partner?
Good. We got everything finished up as far as with school clothes shopping, school shoes shopping, everything school. Kids are going back to school. Mrs. Kaler going to be very happy to enjoy her next few days of kidless days.
Yeah.
She can chill. And so yeah, everything's going well. We'll see how things are going in the morning.
Always those first date jitters, I'm sure. But 2Ks, yeah, I'm really pumped up. I'm really pumped up. I mean, we're sitting here watching the Astros-Orioles game. We were kind of talking earlier over on TikTok kind of about our baseball teams and where they're going. And that's kind of been what we've been talking about here lately is indeed the baseball stuff. But now it's time to turn that page, 2Ks. It's time to turn that page, even though it doesn't feel like football weather because it's 99 million degrees outside. But it is that time of year. We had week 0 kickoff on Saturday. We got to see Florida State, Georgia Tech face off in Ireland. And we also got to see Mr. Pat McAfee get absolutely hammered ass drunk on ESPN, which is even more awesome.
Yeah. Looked like he was having a good time. He was enjoying himself, that's for sure.
He was living in the moment, let's put it that way. And I mean, how awesome would that be?
Yeah.
Not only to get paid to go cover football in Ireland, but to get just hammered ass drunk and he bought all the beers that they were drinking, not only his crew, but the whole entire bar for the entirety of the show.
Yeah.
So if you were there and you did not get your fill, that's your fault. That is absolutely your fault. But 2K crew, before we get into the topic at hand, let us hold on. All right, we're back. let us get to some news, 2Ks. Like I said, there was a lot happened in these last 2 weeks, but I kind of wanted to focus on mostly what happened this week. There was some stuff happened the week prior, but I figured, what the hell, we'll just talk about this week, even though we didn't have the show last week. Let's start off with kind of a melancholy thing here. And this was from a couple days ago. This is from Kobe Bryant Stories and Motivation over on Twitter. It says, "Happy birthday, Kobe. We miss you every day." And that was 2 days ago. So we're looking at Friday was Kobe's birthday. So definitely missed. And I'm sure we're not the only ones. And we could go on and on and on about who is the GOAT. But you know what? We'll never know. We'll never know. And that is fodder for another podcast. But did want to give a big shout out there. And let's see. Let's get one more funny one in here before we start breaking down some of the baseball news that happened. This is a tweet from Trey Wingo. "The best way to sum up how long Tom Brady played football? This was his first appearance in a video game juxtaposed next to his last." And for those of you over on TikTok, it is a picture of him in an NCAA football game as compared to, what was it, last year's or 2 years ago?
Probably 2 years ago, Madden 23 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to me because like I can remember being like my kid's age and playing some of them games like on the original PlayStation or PlayStation 2 and thinking to myself like, man, these graphics
This is
are fucking awesome. And now, when I'm playing like my PS5, kids will walk in or Chell will walk in the room and be like, they think it's like a real game that's on the TV. And it's where we're at now, as far as what technology and graphics are. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Yes, and I think the only next step is to make everything just virtual,
Right.
which is kind of weird, but it's coming, and I'm sure we'll adapt somehow. Hell, I'm still used to getting used to the two joysticks, so goes to show you how much I play video games anymore. But 2Ks, monumental things have happened. Monumental things have happened this week in the land of baseball. Let's rip this one out here. This is a tweet from Jeff Passan, which is inaccurate as we sit here right now. Aaron Judge just hit his 50th home run of the season. It's still August. Well, Jeff, he hit one more later in that game. So yes, as we sit here, August 25th, Aaron Judge has 51 home runs. And I'm putting together a really cool kind of, might be a whole episode, but it'll definitely be a big portion of one, comparing Judge as compared to some of the contemporary hitters of our day. So keep an eye out for that. Haven't quite got there yet, but we will get there. And it probably will be in the off season, just because, just like today, this tweet was from this afternoon, and he's already hit another one.
Mm-hmm.
And not only 2Ks with this one here, the second one, number 51, was a back-to-back with Soto, him, and Stanton. First time that's happened in Yankee Stadium since like 2019 or something. And if you think of the lineups that the Yankees have run out there on a day-to-day basis, it's kind of hard to believe that that hasn't happened more often. But big kudos to Judge. I want to say he's very, very close to the pace that he set when he did hit 61. Now, the thing with this is 2Ks is he got off to a very slow start.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone was wondering if he was hurt. Everyone was wondering what the hell's going on with this guy. And if he would have had, I mean, granted, this pace, can he keep it up? Only time will tell. Mm-hmm. He, and knock on wood, injuries have been a bug that has bitten him from time to time in his short career. And I have a feeling it's going to just remain, can he stay healthy? And on top of that, are people going to keep pitching to him? He's second in, right, in that lineup. Soto's
second.
So,
yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
So obviously commanding a lot of respect because they don't want to pitch. They don't want to walk Soto to get to Judge. Now, I have a feeling that once, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago, is when is the point that Aaron Boone's going to flip-flop them in the lineup because no one's pitching to Judge.
Right.
I mean, granted, Stanton hit a home run today, but out of the 2Ks, who would you rather face out of those three? Soto, Judge, or Stanton?
Stanton.
Yeah,
Obviously. Yeah. I mean, because Judge is by far the best out of them. I mean, he's arguably the best hitter in baseball right now.
Yeah.
And Soto is just such a good major league hitter,
Mm-hmm.
to where Stanton, he's the obvious pick there because there's just so many holes in the swing.
Yeah.
Obviously, he can take you yard at any time, but strikes out a lot. You can pitch around. I mean, you can get him out without having to throw him a strike.
Yeah.
You can't really say that about Soto. You are going to have to throw him strikes because he's not going to swing at anything out of the zone, which makes him the perfect hitter to have in front of Judge because he's going to be on base a lot.
Oh yeah, but I have a feeling we're coming to that time where the Yankees are going to have to flip-flop them in the lineup because there's no point in facing Judge when you get Stanton behind him. But if you're the whole process goes out the window. Do you walk Judge to get to Soto? I mean, that's a whole different animal, whole different set of problems. So just something to keep an eye on. And 2Ks, that was not the only thing that happened when it comes to home runs. Shohei, 40-40 yesterday.
Yeah.
I believe he hit another one today, or at least stole a base today. And this is from Baseball is Dead. And he did it walk-off grand slam to join the 40-40 club. And I believe he's one of 6 people now that are in the 40-40 club, the first Dodger to do it. And I have to admit, 50-50 is completely on the table. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Especially with this much season left, and he's been on just as big of a heater almost as Judge has. So yeah, I mean this is really exciting. I mean, it seems like every single season 2Ks there's something he does that you just sit back and go, holy shit, and he's pitching off a mound already.
I saw that today. Yeah,
already he's doing this with a hurt wing. Going 40-40. I know the elbow has absolutely nothing to do with stolen bases, but this is something that, I mean, we did see 40-70 last year when it came to Acuna, and so this is something that, I mean, 50-50 is definitely on the table, which I am super excited to see, super excited to kind of keep track of. There's another streak here, 2Ks. This is from again, Baseball is Dead. Ellie De La Cruz is the 5th player in MLB history to reach 20 home runs and 60 stolen bases in a single season. Again, we saw that with Acuna last year. He joins Ricky Henderson, Eric Davis, and Joe Morgan. Ironically enough, I think he's the only one on this list, or there's 2 of them that, there's 1, 2, 3 of them, I believe, that did this as a Red, which is kind of weird, but again, Acuna just the 40-70 last year was just something that's never happened before. And anytime you get a graphic that has Ricky Henderson on it, you're doing something right. Especially as a base thief.
What is he? 21?
Yeah,
22.
Yeah, he's only in. He's one of those guys. 2Ks. I think a lot of people had kind of earmarked to see how the progression from last year to this year went. And is he a streaky hitter? Absolutely. Does he strike out too much? Yep. But this is his second season.
Yeah. Not even his. I mean, it didn't even play a full season last year.
No.
So basically a season and a half, and he's only gonna continue to get better, and he's got so many tools that your average player just doesn't have.
That needs like 6'7" and play shortstop.
Yeah, he's incredible. Incredible to watch. Probably make an argument that he's the most exciting player to watch in baseball. I mean, just with what he can do on the bases, basically anything he hits that hits outfield grass has potential for a triple.
Yep.
Who else can you really say that about? Bobby Witt, maybe.
Yeah, and he hits the ball as hard as he throws the ball, which is insane to think about. Let's see here. We've got one more baseball, or a couple more baseball tidbits here. Joey Votto retired 2Ks. This is from MLB on Twitter. It says, Joey Votto was one of a kind. Congrats to an amazing career, Joey. He did have, I mean, in the offseason, the Reds had told him that we're not going to bring you back, Joey. Mm-hmm. And he, if you followed his Instagram, was absolutely hilarious, posting pictures of him doing stuff and being like, still haven't retired yet. Well, the Blue Jays took a flyer on him and signed him to a minor league contract, and didn't really work out. And they were planning on the Blue Jays were planning on bringing him up when they face the Reds. I think this week or this coming weekend is kind of like a last hoorah, fond farewell type of thing. And he's like, you know what? I'm not cutting it.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to be taking a spot for someone that deserves it. So he just kind of rode off into the sunset. Now there's a lot of folks, and this is going to be a debate that we'll have probably in the offseason 2Ks is Joey Votto a Hall of Famer? And I know that's one of your favorite subjects in the world because there's a lot of Hall of Very Good.
Right.
And I'd have to really take a look at some of the numbers here. There's the power numbers aren't there. The hit numbers aren't there. The only thing that really jumps off the page when you're talking about Joey Votto is the walk percentage and the on-base percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of keep that in your back pocket there, 2Ks. We will revisit that. Let's see here. I got two more. Let's give a big shout out to the Florida Little League. Lake Mary Little League brings Florida its first ever Little League World Series. It's a tweet from the Little League account. And did you watch any of this game, 2Ks?
Mm-mm.
This game ended in a very bizarre fashion. Okay. The coach calls for a bunt in the bottom of the sixth. And the pitcher fields it, goes to throw it to first, and the first baseman had crashed on the bunt. The second baseman did not go over. The kid threw it to first base with no one being there. And that's how the winning run scores. So absolutely pandemonium on the base paths. So big shout out to Florida. I guarantee those kids are on cloud nine as well. They should be. And Little League World Series champion, got to go back to school.
Yep.
Here's your trophy. Get your ass back to school. And I 2Ks, I have a feeling that some of our viewer numbers are down because, especially our baseball fans, because over on MLB Network right now, they are airing a Greg Maddux documentary. And I have seen bits and pieces of this, kind of the little trailers and teasers that have come out, and I cannot wait to watch this whole thing.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. But this is a tweet from Hembo over at ESPN. My favorite mind-blowing Greg Maddux stats. Greg Maddux started 236 games without issuing a walk, 68 more than any other pitcher. He had 7 more starts than he had more starts than walks in 7 qualified seasons, a modern era record since 1900. And if you remember 2Ks, he's the pitcher that complete game shutout in 78 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a time here that a lot of times he had more intentional walks than actual walks issued. So again, cannot wait to see that doc. They were talking with him and Eddie Perez about how he used to Maddux used to call his own game.
Mm-hmm.
And what pitch he wanted to throw was designated by either how he caught the ball or a little gesture, and no one really knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one where they talked to him and Big Unit.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of, complete opposites when you talk about pitching.
Yeah.
An artist compared to just, I'm going to bully you with my 6'11" frame and 100-mile-an-hour fastball and a slider that made John Kruk go right-handed. You know?
Yeah. Maddux is like the starter version of like a Mariano Rivera. Like, not going to overpower you, just a wizard at what they do. And like you said, an artist, and he can just hit spots. Now Rivera did it all with one pitch, and Maddux did it with multiple pitches. But how he was able to throw the way that he did with no overpowering stuff, and guys could just not center him up and could not get in. And it was just incredible pitcher for a long time. The only thing I will always say about those Braves teams is how did they only win one? With that pitching staff, and with that offense, because they had a phenomenal offense too.
I'll tell you why, the fucking Yankees.
Yeah.
The fucking Yankees. Derek Jeter and the Yankees that's the exact reason. It's the exact reason. Well, 2Ks, is there any other news and notes that we didn't touch on here before we jump into some NFL football?
No, I think that's everything. That's all.
All right. That's got to be the least amount of baseball we've talked about in a long time. And part of me wants to continue down the baseball rabbit hole, but you know what? You got so much football to talk about, and honestly, a lot of baseball left. So, NFL. We've seen the preseason. We've seen, or at least some of it anyway. We've seen a lot of new faces, new places. We've seen draft picks. We've seen quarterbacks. Honestly, we've probably seen more of Patrick Mahomes than we've seen preseason in a long time. We've seen Aaron Rodgers in preseason. I mean, this is where, what's the first game, the 5th or something? That
Yeah,
a week from Thursday.
From Thursday, yep.
So, which that's the Chiefs Ravens. So it's banner night for the Chiefs. So the big question right out the gate, 2Ks, and I'm gonna just throw it all out there. Do the Chiefs three-peat? First three-peat in NFL history?
Ooh. It's hard to bet against them, right? I mean, it's not like they lost a whole lot. That you think of Snead, the defensive back that goes, that was a huge part of what they did last year. But as far as their offense goes, I think their offense got better.
Oh yeah.
You think of what they did with bringing in Xavier Worthy, bringing in Hollywood Brown. I mean, that was the talk last season, right? Was just how bad their receivers were.
Worst receiving core that he's been with.
Core. And as the season went on, you started to see this Rashee Rice kind of take off and become, his own person, and became, outside of Kelsey, Mahomes' favorite target. Isaiah Pacheco as a running back, he became the running back there. They were kind of a running back by committee there for years, even with their first couple of Super Bowls with this group. That's kind of how they did things. Well, now he's the guy, and deservingly so. I mean, he's one of the better running backs in the NFL, and so much fun to watch because he just drops his fucking head and goes.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And so the offense, I expect, is going to get better. It's going to be, can that defense live up to what they did last season? Because that defense was incredible.
And most of those guys are back.
Yeah.
Most of those guys are back.
As good as Mahomes is, Mahomes, he leaned on that defense last season to get them to where they were. Now, did he make the big plays in the Super Bowl? Absolutely. But they're not there if it's not for what that defense did as far as that, because it took a long time for that offense to figure it out. It's hard to bet against them. But the thing is with the NFL is the parity is it's just so tight. And I'm looking at like 4 or 5 different teams, and I think you can really make a case for. But then as the season goes on, like, there's going to be some other teams to step in. Like, this Houston Texans team, to me, is a team that could shock people.
Love them.
Aaron Rodgers being back with the Jets. Like, let's see this. We didn't get to see this last season.
And the better version of this Jets team.
Yeah, and so I feel like they're a team that's going to be at San Francisco. They're always going to be, going to put themselves in it. Detroit Lions. To me, I think that they're better than what they were last year.
100%.
So, there's multiple teams that have went out and gotten better. And it's going to be fun to see it all shake out, and I mean, but this is what makes the NFL, to me, the best sport in the world there is to watch, is because of the parity. There's just so close. Any team can win on any given Sunday. There's really only maybe 1 or 2 teams that you can really just bank on being shitty, and other than that, everybody else can really knock off anybody at any time. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm putting money on it, and if I'm throwing down a bet, I can't see any way that the Chiefs would not be the favorite just because of what they have.
Well, it's funny you mention that because they are the favorite according to FanDuel. They're at plus 550, followed by the Niners plus 600. Then it's kind of a big jump going to Baltimore at 1100. Closely followed by the Lions at 1200, as well as the Eagles. And the Texans, like you mentioned, 2Ks, a nice upstart, a lot of young players there. And basically, my only question with the Texans is how much better can C.J. Stroud be?
Yeah.
I mean, had a record-setting rookie year. They bolstered that team. And I love the coach. I love that defense. I think a sneaky big pickup in the offseason was Joe Mixon in the backfield. Stephon Diggs is over there now. Kind of see where that goes. That's a scary wide receiver core right there. I mean, we didn't really get to see Tank Dell all that much last year, and Nico Collins took that big step forward to become an elite wide receiver. So I'm really excited to see what this Texans team can do. Now, followed by them, or the equal odds there, as both the Bengals and the Bills. Kind of 2 teams that a lot of folks aren't really talking about. I think the only news you're hearing out of Bengals camp is are they going to re-sign Jamar Chase, which they have to.
They have to.
Absolutely. They have to.
And the Bengals are another team that I'm really curious to see. I want to see Joe Burrow. I want to see I want to see how healthy he is. Like, let's not forget, this is a team a couple years ago that were right there in the thick of things to win played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Played and just ran into a Rams team that was super hot.
They were one play away from winning that.
Yeah. So You can't forget about them as long as Burrow's healthy. They got a great receiving core there. We'll be curious to see who's going to take over as that the lead back role there with Joe Mixon not being there anymore. But the defense should be solid. They were solid last year. The Bills, I don't know what to think about them just because who's Josh Allen have for weapons now?
And that back end of the defense, they all let walk.
Yep.
And so it's one of those years, especially if you are part of Bills Mafia, you're like, okay, yes, the current version, last year in the past couple years obviously didn't work. So you have to make some changes. Now, are these the best changes? Time will tell. But this is something that had to happen because otherwise you're paying the same guys and getting the same results. But I'm right there with you. Who, besides Kincaid, the tight end, Gabe Davis is gone. Like we already mentioned, Diggs is gone.
Yeah, you think they draft what's the rookie that they drafted? They drafted one of the rookie receivers.
Didn't they get the kid out of Florida State? Am I thinking?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Keon Coleman. Yeah. So that's that's going to be for people following that are interested in the fantasy football. There's a rookie wide receiver that I think goes off. I mean, had a great college career. Started at Michigan State, ended in Florida State. Great in both places. So, and he's a big target. To me, I think by the time we especially get into the middle of the season, he's probably going to be Josh Allen's favorite.
Has to be
go-to favorite receiver, other than his tight end and Dalton Kincaid. But then, another team I look at that's kind of fallen down, but I'll never count them out, is any team that's coached by Sean McVay. I got to have the Rams in there too. Is if Matthew Stafford's healthy, they have the weapons. Cooper Kupp, is he healthy? Because he wasn't healthy last year.
Supposedly he is 100% healthy. Right. And granted, this is just fantasy football news, but there's a lot of folks that are saying Puka Nacua is going way too high because of the fact
how good
Cooper Kupp is healthy.
Cooper Kupp is the guy. He was hurt all last season, so you have to just forget about last season. I know it wasn't. If you drafted him in fantasy football, chances are you probably didn't make the playoffs and you had a rough year because he was going in the first round and deservingly so. If he's healthy, he's going to be that number one target. He is going to have. Now Puka might score. Puka might not. He might catch more passes. He might have more yards just because a lot of what Cooper Kupp does is more short passes. I still think Cooper Kupp will have more touchdowns just because of what he does in the red zone area. And his targets will probably go down because of Puka, but that offense, I mean, I'm never going to count them out. And they have Kyron Williams, who, in my opinion, one of the best running backs in the NFL. So
the big question with them is what's that defense going to look like post Aaron Donald? So we got a comment here, 2Ks from Back It Up Binge Podcast. Good evening, gents. Good evening. Welcome back, my friend. You missed the baseball talk. We did that in the news, but great to have you back. Great to have you back. All right, and kind of continuing down this, the Cowboys are at plus 1,800 as well as the Jets and the Packers. A lot to unpack with these three teams. I mean, we've already talked about the Jets. I think plus 1,800 is kind of a steal right now. I still want to see with my eyes. I want to see Aaron play at least one whole game. Now, yes, that was a fluke injury last year. I get it. With the weapons and everything that they have there, it's set up to be very good, especially in that division. Because as we go along, you're going to see the bottom of that division is pretty terrible. And the Packers, what is year 2 of Jordan Love going to look like after getting paid handsomely? And what's the next step for that receiving core, 2Ks? That's the part that kind of that's where the questions arise. And I believe there's a new defensive coordinator. Kind of see where that goes. But in this NFC North I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more competitive than it has in years past. We've already talked about the Lions. We've got the Packers. The Bears completely re-overhauled there. And the Vikings, it sucks because if JJ's healthy, I think because they're plus 8,000 right now.
Right.
if JJ's healthy, I have a feeling that number is cut in half at least.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think that even with JJ there, the Vikings, I still think the Vikings are the team, that probably is at the bottom of that division. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that
But
means
it's
that they
way
have
more
a losing
competitive
record,
with
because
him.
it wouldn't shock me if all 4 of those teams have winning records. That's
Absolutely.
how good that division is. Unfortunately, they're going to beat each other up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or they're all 500.
Right. Yeah. And but that division is really, really good, and it's funny because if you go back just a couple years ago, it wasn't a very good division.
No,
it was
terrible.
basically one team.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And it was Green Bay for years and years was the team and the only team that was consistently good.
Well, that Kirk Cousins Vikings team would give the
give
Aaron
them
Rodgers
fits, yeah.
Green Bay team fits, yes, but no, it was owned by
The
Aaron
Bears and the
Rodgers.
Lions were an absolute joke,
Yeah.
and now the Lions are at the top of that, and the Bears. I tell you what, dude, Caleb Williams is gonna be a fucking problem.
He looks good. No, I'm not as sold as Big Cat from Pardon My Take quite yet.
Well, the thing is, though, just the group of receivers and his tight end that he's walking into,
Running backs and the whole offense.
First picks of drafts don't get that situation. They're going into like what Drake May's going to walk
Bryce
into
Young
with
last year.
the Patriots. Yes, they're walking into that shitty situation to where you're walking in with a legitimate number 1 receiver in DJ Moore. You have Keenan Allen, who for a rookie quarterback is
Perfect.
a quarterback's dream.
Yeah.
Short, slot receiver, short passes, open all the time, make plays after the catch. Like, he been in the league for years. Like, he does everything well. And then you have arguably, I mean, after Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft, there's a lot of people that would have taken Odunze over Neighbors.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go back and forth on that. I really can't pick who.
There's a
I
lot of
thought
people
was
who
the
were
best one
taking
of all of them.
Odunze over Marvin Harrison.
Yeah,
I thought
there
they
were
were
people
nuts,
that were saying that. I
but-
don't agree with that either, but that's just how good Odunze is. So that he's your number 3 receiver in that.
Like Cole Kmet, who's led
And
the
Cole-
team in receiving yards the past 3 years, which blows my mind. And then a talented backfield.
Yeah.
And
Led by Swift, who's been in the league now for a while, knows what
comes back to the NFC North. Yeah.
So there's just, and then the Bears defense, that was not an issue last year. Like, they did what they needed to do. They just couldn't put enough points on the board and keep the defense off the field. So this Bears team is a team that I think they're going to be better than 500 this year.
Oh, I
think that they're going to be a team that could shock you and make a wild card.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. It's gonna come down to what the Bears can do against their own division. Can they take a game away from Detroit? Can they take a game away from Green Bay? And can they beat the Vikings twice? Like, can you do that? And if you do that, and then don't shit the bed on and against other opponents, they're a team that could be in the thick of things. That's how good I think that they could be.
I completely agree with you. And kind of we left off with the Packers, and since we started, the odds for the Dolphins has actually changed. It went from plus 24 to plus 22. Not sure what exactly happened in that matter of 15 minutes, but FanDuel saw something. FanDuel saw something. Now the Dolphins, I'm not sold on the Dolphins. We saw Tua stay healthy all year last year, which was the major problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the offense that's the problem. That defense is. And can Tua do it 2 years in a row?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have arguably the best wide receiver in the league in Hill. You have Jalen Waddle. You have is it Raheem Mostert, the running back?
It'll be A-Chain now.
That's right, yeah. But there's just something missing with that team, and I think it's on the defensive side or maybe the offensive line that I'm not 100% sold on.
Well, the Tua is just not very good.
I think that could be the case too. That could be the case too.
Good. Is he serviceable? Yes. Is he, when you start looking at all these other teams that are at the top, is he as good as Patrick Mahomes? No.
Yes.
Is he as good as like a Lamar Jackson? No. Is he as good as Brock Purdy? No. Is he as good as Jared Goff? No. Is he as good as Jalen Hurts? No. Is he as good as CJ Stroud? No. Is he as good as Joe Burrow? No. Is he as good as Josh Allen? No. Is he as good as Dak Prescott? Maybe.
Yeah,
he just doesn't turn the ball over as much as Prescott. That's it.
I was going to say that's the first maybe, and I would take Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love before him.
Yes. I would take Kirk Cousins with the Falcons before him.
Now
I would take Matthew Stafford before him.
that Falcons team is going to be sneaky 2Ks because the division they play in. Which version of Kirk Cousins are you going to get? Penix is there. A whole new coaching staff, revamp of everything. That NFC South is winnable. Is very winnable.
You can say, I can sit here and we can say this shit. I mean, and because people want to fucking go to Tua's defense all the time, and I just named off all those, and I'll keep going down the fucking list. All right, with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, I'm probably going to take Tua over him. So now we're at 1, and I'll even give you the Dallas one, so and I'll take him over. So that's 2. You go to the Bears, no, I'm taking Caleb Williams. You go to the Chargers, no, I'm taking Herbert. You go to the Jacksonville, no, I'm going with Trevor Lawrence. You go to Pittsburgh, okay, I'm probably gonna. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I want to see. I want to see a season of Justin Fields.
Both those quarterbacks have been terrible, in preseason. But
I want to see a season of that, how that goes down. I guess right now I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Seattle, probably. So now we're at 4. No, I'm not taking him over over Anthony Richardson with the Colts. I'm probably not taking him over Baker Mayfield.
Nope.
I'm not taking him over Kyler.
Nope.
I'm not taking him. Vikings, they need a quarterback, so there's 5. 6 with New Orleans. New Orleans has Derek Carr. I'll take him over Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Raiders, yes. So now you're getting to the bottom of the NFL. Washington, no, I'm not taking him over Washington's quarterback. I'm not taking him over. I'll take the Giants would take him. I'm not taking him over the kid from Alabama with the Panthers.
You would take him over Will Levis?
I would take him over Will Levis, yes.
Now,
I'm not taking him over the rookie there with Denver, and I'm not taking him over the rookie.
Amazing.
Yeah,
he's looked amazing this preseason.
So there's about 6 teams in the entire NFL that would take that you would want him as your quarterback. So to me, like, yeah, the defense has not been very good. They had to go into the cold. The talk was the cold weather that they had to go into with Kansas City, and that might be it. But it's also a quarterback issue. Yeah. It is. It's a quarterback issue.
Kansas City had to play in that same cold.
When we were talking about, look at all these quarterbacks that were a part of this draft last year.
Mm-hmm.
Game-changing quarterbacks, in my opinion. I thought there was 6 of them that you could have went with. And you hit the nail on the head right there. Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm.
And how good he's been in the preseason. And then Penix was another one. Another lefty quarterback that you could have threw in there. Both of those kids, to me, are better quarterbacks than Tua.
And so, they just paid Tua a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
Whole lot of money.
Yeah, I've never been sold on him. The injuries have always worried me with him. There's really nothing. Accuracy has been his one big thing that everybody said is he's really good. He's accurate. He's an accurate thrower. He doesn't have great arm strength. He's not an athlete where he's gonna tuck the ball and run. There's just not a whole lot that really sticks out to me. And when you start thinking of like Super Bowl caliber teams, they all have one thing in common. Their fucking quarterback is legit. Like every one of these teams has a quarterback that is legit. And maybe the only one that you can make a case is with Purdy. But Purdy just makes all the right decisions, and he has all the fucking weapons, you know. So it's just like, I just can't. I'm not sold on him, and I don't know if anybody. I have nothing against the guy. I'm not saying that he's doesn't belong in the NFL and he's that bad, but I just don't think that he's ever going to put them over.
Yeah, and like I said, there's that might be what I'm trying to put my finger on, and it might, and rightfully so, because the success is derived more so by the quarterback than any other position. You can even take the entire defense, in my opinion. If your quarterback's junk, your team's going to be junk. Look at the Bears are the perfect example of that. Yes, did they get to the Super Bowl with Sexy Rexy as the quarterback? Yes, but we saw what happened once they got there.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning just dropped dick on them.
Right. And at that time, it was also a different game. You know, now in today's game, it is very, very quarterback driven. You're paying your quarterback to go.
$50 million.
You have to have one. You have to have a good one if you're gonna win. And
that's Giants fans.
Yeah, exactly. And look, and this is, and don't take this the wrong way, because I'm not saying that Tua doesn't belong in the NFL and that he's a bad quarterback and shouldn't be a starter. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that he's not, a top tier quarterback that can lead. He's a quarterback that can get you to the playoffs. I don't think he wins games in the playoffs. That's the only thing I'm saying about him.
He doesn't have that winning drive that no one's going to beat me. This is my drive, boys. Come on, get on my back. I'm going to get us there. And it probably doesn't behoove us to continue on this because once we get past, kind of the Bears, Chargers in that area, it's kind of okay.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these teams are down there. But
with some of the off-season additions that were made, and I think other teams in the division have went south. I think that the Eagles are not as good as what they were last year. I don't think that Dallas has got so many distractions like they always do, and plus they can get to the playoffs but they never do anything. A team that made a lot of moves in the offseason and got a lot better, and maybe took a Caleb Williams has been so good, but the kid from LSU has been great too.
Mhm.
Washington
Jaden
could
Daniels.
be a team that maybe could surprise some people because they made a lot of moves in the offseason to get better. Obviously, a head coaching change kind of
Needed to
changed up
happen.
everything. Needed that. They're that one team in the bottom. When you start looking at like the bottom 10, 12 teams, they're that one team that I could see maybe making a run and being a playoff.
And I need to see a better Trevor Lawrence this year. I need it. I also need Anthony Richardson to stay healthy. I want to see what this kid's all about.
Yeah, so do I.
When he was playing, electric.
Yeah.
His style of play is going to need to. I mean, it draws a lot of comparisons to Josh Allen, and rightfully so. This is a guy that, I mean, yes, 1 year. I get it. When he was on the field for those 4 games, awesome.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a complete game changer. I need to see that more.
And
I need to see that more.
Wasn't on the field with Jonathan Taylor, and now to have both of them on the field at the same time. Let's not forget what Jonathan Taylor was all about here a couple years ago.
And
before having an injury-riddled season, and obviously the holdout and all that. So now to have all that cleared up, be healthy, and have both of them healthy, that could be pretty fun to watch.
I want to see what Saquon does with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a huge. I mean, I think a definite upgrade from
100%, 100%.
And I want to see how they use him not only in the passing game. How is he going to help Jalen Hurts in the passing game? There's a lot of folks saying, left a big hole with Kelsey retiring. I get that. He is the center. He's the one that there's a lot of responsibility there, and he was very good for a very long time. The key to me with that team is Big Dom's back on the sideline.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
a big deal.
They were undefeated when he was on the sideline. Now he's guaranteed to be on the sideline every single week. And can Saquon stay healthy?
Mm-hmm.
If he stays healthy, that's the key to that division right there, is that one player. And because receivers, they have dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not even a question. Was DeAndre Swift a good running back for them last year? Yes, but
he's not Saquon caliber. No.
When Saquon's healthy, fantasy football wise or regardless, he is either 1A or 1B, the best running back in football when it comes to like fantasy points and stuff like that.
I agree. And
can be a complete game changer.
And when in his career has he ever been on an offense this explosive?
Never.
And had this talent around him?
Never.
He's never had this quarterback.
No.
He's never had 2 wide receivers like he has right now.
He doesn't need to be the focal point.
His offensive line was really bad with the Giants, and now really, really good.
Yep.
One of the better offensive lines, even with the loss of Kelsey, still a very good offensive line. So, no, he's a guy that it would not shock me if he's the number 1 running back in fantasy football at the end of the season.
No,
it just wouldn't. That's the talent that he has. Like, he has that talent where he could arguably put up like Christian McCaffrey numbers from last year. He really can do it because he can do both. He can catch it and he runs it.
And can you imagine his actual the addition to him and how much better that tush push is going to be? Because Swift was behind him for the vast majority. Saquon squats 700 pounds. So now you have 2 guys in the backfield, and him and Jalen Hurts, that can squat combined probably 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. I know Kelsey was like the man at that, but when you lose him and you're actually able to put that, and is the tush push going to win them the Super Bowl? Probably not.
Right.
But they had it. That was an actual weapon for them, and I don't see it going away just because Kelsey is gone. And now, like I said, you got more push from the back, so it's got to help. It's got to help. And One more 2Ks that I'm really excited to see is Derrick Henry in Baltimore. I mean,
Yep.
you talk about a team that wants to be run heavy, whether it's with insert name of running back here, Gus Edwards. They've been through a million of them, it seems like, and of course Lamar Jackson. Yes, King Henry is long in the tooth, if you want to put it that way. He's 30 or 31 years old, but he is an absolute monster.
Right. And like when he's on the field and and he's been on a pretty bad team the last couple of years,
Like he was the offense.
Yeah. And so but when he's on the field and when he's playing, it's like it's not you don't watch him and think like, man, he's slowed down, or man, he's still the same guy that we've always been watching, and just a fucking man amongst boys out there. Can still run away from guys, and
6'7", it seems like.
He looks like Spike from Little Giants. Like he's just bigger and stronger than everybody on the field, and that's what it's like watching him run all the time. The dude's incredible, and it's like, yeah, he's got a lot of miles, and obviously has done it for a long time, and that maybe will scare you away. But to me, the addition with putting him with that Ravens offense and lining him up with Lamar Jackson and what he can do with his feet, like. That Ravens team's scary. They're a scary team.
Talk about the definition of thunder and lightning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that
100%.
There isn't a more clear-cut example of that. And I'm excited for him to be on a team where he doesn't have to be the offense, like I said. Mm-hmm. I mean, Mark Andrews is going to have a huge bounce back year. Lamar coming off his MVP season, what's he going to look like? How is he going to improve?
To me, with Lamar, it's not even a question of what he does in the regular season. They're going to be a playoff team. Yeah. It's what version of Lamar do you get in the playoffs? He's got to be better when he gets to the playoffs, and I think he will be. I mean, I think he's one of the he's probably, I don't know if you can even find a quarterback that's really more fun to watch in the NFL, and just the shit that he can do and the offense that he plays in, and so I just think that he's going to figure it out. He's going to get over that hump but the problem is, he's going to have to go through Kansas City. He's going to have to go through, if it's not Kansas City, it's probably, it's going to be the guys like Joe Burrow. It's going to be guys like...
I was going to say, look at the teams in his division.
Right. Yep.
I mean, that division is like murderer's row. Yep. And, I think the last player I'm going to touch on 2Ks is Justin Herbert. A lot of his weapons are gone.
Yeah.
Well, how are they going to fill that? And Jim Harbaugh. I mean, that's kind of the one piece that I think everyone's waiting to see. Now, am I expecting a Chargers team to make it to the Super Bowl? No, but I have a feeling that this is the coach that Herbert needs to make that next step to become that elite guy. He's already been paid like it. Now I need to see the play like it.
Now, and it will happen. And the thing with Harbaugh going to that Chargers team was it's going to take time, and I think everybody knew that when it wasn't going to be like he was going to turn it around in a year, or that this team was close. My thing with the Chargers is I thought there was a lot of games watching them last year where, just some of the situational football, obviously going for it, and shitty situations. They had a very good defense, but they were constantly put in situations where they had to make stops with short fields. And now you have a head coach that I just think has a better feel, has a better mind for it. Revamped the whole coaching staff. I mean, from top to bottom. Look, Herbert's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. He's still super, super young. I think the expectation was so high on him from the very beginning. And I still think he's really, really good. And I still think teams, especially other teams in the NFL, would die to have him.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to build around him. They're going to get better. But it's gonna take time. And the way that Harbaugh does things, and the way that he when he finally figured it out at Michigan, was you build it in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
And that often they take the big kid, the alt kid from Notre Dame in the first round of the draft. That's a Harbaugh pick. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's gonna walk out of that draft with the best offensive lineman in the draft. They walk out of it with him, and that offensive line is gonna do nothing but get better. The running game's going to get better, and it's going to do everything. He's going to do everything he can to make the game simple and easier for Herbert. And they get that McConkey kid from Georgia. Mm-hmm. He's going to be open all the time. He's going to be a kid that probably going to remind you a lot of Cooper Kupp here in a few years, and they'll figure it out. To me, the Chargers were just a team that you just never knew what version of them you were going to get. Yeah. And I think it's pretty safe to say what version of them you're going to. They're going to be a hard team to beat. Are they going to be a playoff team? Are they going to be nothing like that? But they're not going to be a team that just lays over for you.
In this this situation reminds me of. I think this is Herbert's Andy Reid. Is Harbaugh. I mean, this is. I mean, you could argue that this is the. I mean, you would probably have to go back to his Stanford days with Andrew Luck to be like, this is the most talented quarterback that Harbaugh's had. And because his 49er days, I mean, you had Alex Smith and Kaepernick.
Kaepernick, yeah.
And then leaves there, goes to Michigan, has up until recently with McCarthy has had kind of throwaway quarterback.
Yeah.
And what that team, like you said, was built on running the ball, the trenches, didn't really need. And that was the biggest knock on JJ going into the draft is, hell, you didn't throw a pass in the second half against Penn State.
Right.
Can you do it? Absolutely, you can. It just didn't need to
do it. Right?
And I think it was sending a message to be like, it was more a fuck you to everyone else as compared to, let's get JJ a Heisman. That was not the goal from day one.
Well, I mean, the Penn State game, you had JJ with a sprained ankle, and you had injuries on the offensive line, and they had not their normal right tackle out there, and that backup right tackle that was playing the position that day could not block Chop Robinson. And McCarthy got drilled twice in the first drive of the game. And I think that Sharon Moore was like, we're not doing any more of this shit. We know our defense isn't going to give up anything. We're going to run the football, and we're going to just continue to run the football. And then if they can't stop it, we're going to win this game. And, not that Penn State did terrible against Michigan's rush that day. Michigan just controlled the ball, had the ball for the whole second half, and just continued to run it, and their defense just didn't give up anything.
Well, that's kind of a good segue here, 2Ks. Now, for those of you that are wondering, well, Turbo, who's your Super Bowl pick? That's a whole other show. It's a whole other show. This is just a taste, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting you started. We're getting your feet wet, giving you a nice little taste test of what we got coming down the pike. And yes, we will do our way too early NFL picks as well as college picks. So let's take a little preview. Take a little preview here. Now, first game, 2Ks. First game, Florida State, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech smacks Florida State right in the mouth. I don't think they saw that coming. No, I really don't.
I don't think very many people did see it coming.
No.
I think Georgia Tech saw it coming. I think Georgia Tech was they didn't go into that game. I mean, they were not scared. And you watch the first drive, and Florida State just drives the ball down the field, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is just gonna go how everybody was saying. Not that Georgia Tech is a bad team, but they're just not as big. They're not as strong. They're not as athletic.
They weren't in the top 25.
Right.
Yet,
they're not.
They will be after this.
Oh, 100%. And they answered right back on the following drive with a touchdown to go down by one because Florida State ran the 2-point conversion.
Weird.
And really from that point on, like Georgia Tech, I think they just realized like, hey, we can score on this.
We can hang with this team.
We can hang with these guys, and they never turned back the rest of the game. It was a fun game to watch. It was you go so long without being able to watch football, and when football finally comes back, I don't think you really could have asked for a better game to watch. I mean, just right off the bat like that. And kudos to Georgia Tech, and for Florida State. Look, I mean, if you're going to lose with this 12-team playoff, I think it's best to lose early because now you can kind of, you see what you're all about. I mean, you kind of got your ass kicked there, and you had obviously with all the transfers that they brought in, and that defensive line and offensive line was the talk leading up to this game.
That's all ESPN could talk about.
And I was not impressed. I was not impressed with that defensive line really at all. I thought Georgia Tech. They had no issues moving the football.
Nope.
And as far as for Florida State, I've never been sold on DJU. And I'm not saying that he's the reason why they lost. He's not. He's not the reason why they lost that game. But he's just not that quarterback. He's not that 5-star quarterback that everybody thought that he was when he went to Clemson. And I think that that's easy to see when you have a 5-star that's transferred now on his third location. In his college career is that he's just not that guy.
But he coming out of the gate his freshman year, filling in those games when Lawrence was sick or hurt, in prime time, that Notre Dame game, threw for over 500 yards. Everyone's like, holy shit, Trevor Lawrence is leaving and we're left with this?
Yeah.
And then year two, not even close to that. And then we've seen flashes of it, but nothing consistent. And I'm wondering, going into year 9 of his collegiate career, jokingly, of course, but it does seem like
He's been around
I was
forever.
like, I remember where I was with that Clemson Notre Dame game, and just the scores going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and I remember that game vividly. And the place we watched it from, I was watching it on my phone,
Yeah.
and Krista and I haven't been there in probably 4 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, how old is this kid?
Yeah. No, he's been in the league for a long time. I mean, it's just like you have to throw in the COVID year and all
Yeah.
that, because like Bo Nix last season, Michael Penix, like it seems like I was watching those guys when I was in my college days. And Bo Nix was playing for Auburn, and Penix was playing at Indiana against Michigan. So it was just
Which
like
we covered both. That was one of the the very early times when we started the show, and it kind of going back to Stetson Bennett. I mean, he was like 29 years old when he got drafted last year. Joking, obviously, but speaking of Stetson and the Georgia Bulldogs, they're at plus 250 right now to win the whole damn thing.
I can't argue with it one bit, and I have a futures bet with a few champions on and I'm not going to give it all my other ones away, but I'll give this one away, and I took Georgia to win it all. And the reasoning for that is I just think that this is going to be a team that plays with a chip on their shoulder this year for what happened last year.
Yeah.
Wow, because to me, the two best teams in college football last season were Michigan and Georgia. And to see those two teams face off in the national championship, I think that would have been the best possible matchup that you could have come up with. And obviously Georgia getting beat, not being able to get over that Nick Saban hump. It just seems like they always had, Nick Saban always got the best of them, and other than a few times. But I think Georgia comes out this year. There's and kind of going to be like that version of what they showed against Florida State in the bowl game. And I know that Florida State was hurt, and there was a lot of guys that were sitting out, not playing that game.
Georgia didn't,
but
care.
Georgia didn't sit out. Those boys played, and I think that carries over into this season. And I don't think Georgia's gonna I think Georgia runs the table and goes undefeated, and I don't think they lose a game all season.
And Georgia does have, Carson Beck returning. He's plus 800 to win the Heisman. So, I mean, again, we talked about it on the NFL side. College is the same when it comes to, success. You need that quarterback. You need that guy. And I think that's where kind of Ohio State is kind of like, who is the quarterback for Ohio State? The dude that was there last year transferred.
Mm-hmm.
And this is supposed to be one of the most talented Ohio State rosters like ever. And they're sitting there at plus 400. And Oregon's plus 650, Texas plus 850. And I honestly, and they're probably, I mean, obviously they're the top ranked, or at least odds wise 2Ks of any big, or the, I have to remember Oregon's in the Big Ten now as well. That's going to be hard for me to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, for sure.
The top, because you immediately think Ohio State. Okay, where's Michigan? Where's Penn State? Where's Iowa? Those are like the main teams when you think of the Big Ten. Not anymore. You got Oregon. You got USC. We're probably not going to see UCLA on this list for a while. And what's Washington going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
So to get I'm curious to see, like I said, the quarterback play from Ohio State.
Right.
If you look at, I mean, Georgia, we already talked about Beck. Oregon has Dylan Gabriel, who is the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman right now. Mm-hmm. And then you go even further than that. You got Quinn Ewers at Texas. The kid from Alabama returns.
Dart with Ole Miss.
Yep. And then Riley Leonard at Notre Dame, who's going to replace Jaden Daniels. And then you kind of get into kind of the, some of the more unknowns when it comes to the quarterback situation.
That shocks me with LSU being up so high too.
Me too.
Like their defense couldn't stop anybody last year. Terrible defense. And you're replacing, your quarterback and Jaden Daniels. And so it's like, I I don't see how they're up there that high. And I look at some of the teams after them. Like I have to have Penn State above them just because of Penn State's schedule.
Yeah.
And Michigan's schedule is a gauntlet. But to me, if Michigan can, you think of the big 4 games that Michigan plays this year. If they split those and go 2-2 on those, they're probably a playoff team.
Yep.
As long as they don't shit the bed elsewhere, on other teams. And I'm not saying that won't happen because, it could. But then I look at like Tennessee, they should be pretty good. Missouri coming back, Missouri should be a solid team. I can't have LSU that high up. They're the team that when I look at those teams right there, they're the one team that I would say I don't even know if I could have them in the top 15.
No, and they're plus 2,000. Same odds as Penn State, then followed by Michigan at plus 3,000. So yeah, and this whole thing, and yes, like I said, we will be doing a way too early college edition of our picks too. But just kind of, I mean, the biggest news out of college football 2Ks is the 12-team playoff, and I went into this as as a Notre Dame fan, being like, okay, if let's say Notre Dame runs the table, they're undefeated, they are going into the playoff the number 1 seed. They can't be the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed because there's no conference. They would be slated in that number 5 seed. And it took some kind of rewiring in my brain to kind of be like, okay, I'm good with this because those top 4 now get a bye while everyone else plays a game.
Well,
and Notre Dame not having a conference championship, that's their bye.
Exactly.
So and if they're that number 5 team, that game's going to be in South Bend against the number 12 team. So they're kind of getting the worst of the best. I'm okay with that. I didn't think about it like that. Immediately I'm like, well, that's horse shit. And now when it's going to muddy the water is that the worst of the 4 conference champions who could be like ranked 15th going into this automatically getting a bye, and now they're the number 4 seed. That's kind of where the water is going to get more muddy. And I think a lot of Notre Dame fans take a step back. Like I said, maybe you guys didn't think about it the way that because I had no idea. And if that's the case, I'm fine with that. Now I do have a feeling.
Just join a fucking conference.
Yeah, I get it.
Just join a fucking conference. You don't stop being different from everybody else. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And like, no, they don't deserve it when they don't play a conference championship game. And you're looking at all these other teams and you're thinking, okay, Georgia, they're playing in a conference championship game against a team like Alabama, who's going to be another, or a team like Texas, who's going to be another top team. And you look at Ohio State, and they're going to be playing for a conference championship against a team like Oregon, or a team like Michigan, or a team like Penn State, and Notre Dame's doing nothing. And yeah, you can make the argument that, like, say the team out of the Big 12 is just not, I don't think we're going to have that problem this year because I think Utah is going to run that
very good
conference, and with Cam Rising coming back, I think Utah is just they're a lock to be in the playoff, in my opinion. I think they win the Big 12, and they're in. But yeah, I mean, I see your point here in the next couple of years that maybe you come across that where a team in the Big 12 wins it, and maybe they've just beat up on each other, and you have a 3-loss team, and Notre Dame's 1 loss or undefeated or something like that. I see it, but I'm hoping at that time Notre Dame's in a fucking conference like they should be.
And I'm to the point now, like since I have this new perspective where we have a bye because we don't have the championship game. To me, it doesn't really matter if we were 1 or 2 leading up to this and we get the 4. I'm fine with that now because we had the same bye that we would have going in. So, like I said, just a different way to think about it. And you brought up Utah 2Ks, and I was shocked that they're down here this far at plus 6,000.
It's almost worth it because, and not that I think that they're a team that can hang with Georgia or the Ohio States or the Oregons of the world, but I'll take that plus 6,000 odds just because they're going to be there.
Yeah.
There's things that could happen to some of them other teams at the top where they don't make it. You don't even make it in to where I'll take that plus 6,000 odds just for a team that I think gets in there easy. I don't think anybody really in the Big 12 can really play with them right now.
No, I especially again with the with Oklahoma and Texas leaving for the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think those two things are the biggest headlines that we've kind of touched on, is the conference realignment and the new playoff format. I have a feeling that if Nick Saban were still at Alabama, he would never miss the playoffs. Never. There would be he would figure out a way to work the system that's in place to benefit the Crimson Tide. And because he thinks outside the box more than anyone else in college football, even now that he's not there. But this seems to be like the perfect, let's say they sneak in at a 12, which a Nick Saban coach team having 3 losses seems kind of asinine. But let's just say theoretically, because we'll never know, they sneak it into 12. It's a Nick Saban team. They're going to be dangerous when it comes down to win or go home.
I mean, look at it last year when Michigan draws them in the first game in the Rose Bowl game. There, everybody's saying, well, Michigan doesn't want to play this game, and I have to be honest with you, even as a Michigan fan, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't think that Michigan was better than them or that they could win that game, but I thought, man, I don't know if I want to play. I don't want to face Saban. It really had nothing to do with the players. It all had to do with, I don't know if I want to face Saban in this game.
Well, it's like Belichick in the playoffs.
Because and I mean, you could make an argument that Alabama, as far as with the talent alone, they maybe were the most talented team in college football last year. Their problem was they got up to the slow start and lost games in the beginning because they were still trying to figure out things with Milroe.
Yeah.
Middle of the season and on, once Milroe figured it out and became, the Heisman caliber player that he was, then, that's when they became, the elite team. That was the elite team that was able to knock off Georgia.
Yeah.
So, you win your conference championship and beat Georgia, then you're running into that game against Michigan. That's a scary game for Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so as far as for Michigan and that, I think Michigan blows the doors off of Washington, but I think they blew the doors off of Texas last year.
Yeah.
Alabama and Georgia were the 2 teams that could play with them, and Ohio State. Those were the 3 teams that could potentially beat them last year. Nobody else in the nation was going to beat them.
No. In Michigan, we talked about it all last year, and there was no denying. And even obviously we talked about Michigan a lot last year because we live in Michigan. That's kind of, and this was, the lead up to the whole, put up or shut up for Harbaugh. Could he win the big one? Well, he ripped the Band-Aid off, took the monkey off his back, got everyone there. And you and I were both saying that this is the most talented team, the most all-around talented team in the country last year. And that's another, obviously it's a storyline we'll be continuing to keep an eye on because A, new coach, B, new quarterback, C, a lot of talent gone in the draft. But like you've pointed out, that defense is still national championship quality. It's just, how's the offense going to respond?
That to me it's the biggest question mark. It's like I can't like make my prediction. Like I know that Georgia's going to be really good. We know that Ohio State's going to be really good. We know that Oregon's going to be really good. Texas. But when you start talking about last year's national champion in Michigan, it's the question mark at quarterback. We don't know what we're going to get at quarterback. We don't. I mean, you know what you're going to get as far as Donovan Edwards as your running back. You know that offensive line is going to rebuild and they're going to be very solid. But you lost a lot of that offensive line, that storied offensive line that had been there for a long time. They're gone. So now you're basically rebuilding. I think they're going to be fine there. The thing that they have that they can hang their hat on is they know they're not going to give up very many points. Right. Their defense is going to keep them in games and give them opportunities to win. The problem is you're trying to figure out quarterback situation, and you play Texas in week 2.
Yeah.
And you follow that up in week 4 with USC, and you follow that up with Washington, and so you're playing against them. It's not your typical Michigan schedule where you have 3 or 4 tune-ups before you face your first Big Ten opponent.
Yeah, there aren't too many cupcakes in that schedule.
No,
not too many. 2Ks. We gave everyone some extra time since we didn't meet here last week. I was too lazy to put together a top 5. That's on me.
I kind of figured that we were going to get a little bit carried away on the football talk anyways and not have and the thing is, like, I could probably go on for another 2 hours talking about football.
Shit. This is what we love. It's good that football's back now. It would really be nice to have some football weather. We had it a couple weeks ago,
Yeah,
or even last week. Got up and it was 40 degrees out, and I'm like, yes, this is my shit.
Yeah, that's my favorite weather of the year. And it's not that I want to wish the summer away, because I do enjoy summer, but like I'm over the
90 plus.
I'm over the humidity. I'm over the 90 plus. I'm over that shit. Like I like my favorite weather, and I wish if it could be year round, would be like frost in the morning and get up to like in the 50s, and sweatshirt weather.
Yeah.
You put on
You
a
could still
sweatshirt.
golf in there.
Yes. Yeah. You can still do everything outside that you want to do, other than, you're not going to be swimming in your pool and all that. But that's my idea of the perfect weather. I know there's I know my whole family would argue with me on that one, but no, I'm not a huge pool guy. Not a huge outdoor.
Me either.
Hang out by the pool.
I love
or
my
on
hot
the
tub.
beach or that kind. Yeah, I like my hot tub.
I like
too.
my hot tub.
I like my hot tub when it's 50.
Yeah.
A lot better than I like my hot tub when it's 90.
Yes. Yes. Now, what would 2K Crew? One thing you might not have heard us talk about is we haven't given any fantasy football updates, and that's because we're taking a break from fantasy football and we're doing a survivor pool. There's 2Ks. Have you made your first pick yet?
I think so.
Okay. We don't need to announce it yet. I'm holding off just because it's still preseason. There could be an injury.
Yep.
And I've never done this on Yahoo before, so I don't know if I can actually retract that pick or if it's locked in stone. I know there are some folks that have theirs locked in. I do not. I will be making it closer to, and I'm kind of shocked there's more people that don't know what a survivor pool is.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was until.
Yeah, for those of you wondering, it's you basically pick a game a week, and it's not like the group picks a game. You look down the schedule and you're like, okay, like week 1, for instance, we talked about the Chiefs Ravens, and you're like, all right, I want the Chiefs. I'm riding the Chiefs this year. I want the Chiefs. So you pick the Chiefs. If the Chiefs win, you move on to week 2, and every week that you win, you continue to move on. The only caveat is you can only use a team once. So if you want the Chiefs and you pick them week 1, you cannot pick them the rest of the season. That's what makes it kind of cool. That's how it makes it a little bit harder, a little tougher, because if you pick the Chiefs and the Chiefs win out, let's say they go completely, undefeated, that's kind of easy. But you can only use a team once, and that's where the strategy comes in. Do you want to hold off on one of these big studs in a like a complete, mismatch, or there's lots of ways to think about it. Taking a team early that you think, okay, while teams are kind of getting shit sorted out, could they pull an upset off early? And then as compared to later in the season when you're stuck with, the Titans and some of these other teams at the bottom, you're like, oh shit, okay.
My thing is, and what I was thinking about with it though, is does it even make it past like week 4 or 5?
It does. It honestly depends on the number of players.
And where I'm going at with that is like I touched on earlier, like the parity in the NFL, and how hard it is. And it's like when I was looking at week 1, for instance, like I'm just looking at some of these matchups, and there's like I don't see really hardly any that truly stick out to me, like
no,
because I'm thinking to myself like, all right, I'm gonna go with who's playing the Giants. Well, the Vikings play the Giants week 1, and the Vikings have a lot of questions on what with quarterback, so that one's not really a go-to pick. And so then you start and you look at like your powerhouse teams. Well, the Chiefs have the Ravens. I'm staying the fuck away from that game because I don't know what's gonna happen there. Packers got the Eagles. I'm staying the fuck away from that. And then you look at like your what was the other one I was looking at? Niners and Jets. I'm staying away from that game. So it's just like all those, and then the Lions are another one of your top picks. Well, they got the Rams. So there's just not.
Well, they've owned Matt Stafford, so that's a slam dunk. It's a slam dunk, dude. Come on.
I'm not taking that pick. That's to give it away. That's not my pick. I'm not going to tell you who my pick is. I might tell you, but I'm not going to tell everybody who my pick is. But, and I'm not saying I'm not locked in on it, but I have one that I look at where I'm like, okay, I feel pretty safe with this one.
Yeah, I've narrowed it down to 2 games, and one of them it's like, do I want to use them this early?
Yeah.
But then again, you have to get to later in the season to worry about
That's
that.
what and that's kind of my mindset with it too. Is like I'll worry about the next week when if I get there.
Yeah.
So I got to go with who I
And
have to go with my gut and what's the safest bet to get through.
Yeah, and the times that I've done it, it has gone to like week 12, 13.
That's impressive.
And you'll get down to like two dudes, and everyone, and that's even though you're out, you still have the utmost like. Okay,
oh, for sure, yeah, that's impressive if it gets that far.
Who's gonna step on their dick first? Who's going to be upset? And usually by then, you kind of know. You kind of know who's used which team and which ones they have left. So you're kind of like, okay, where's he gonna go now? Where's he gonna go now? So it's a different type of exciting than fantasy football, but it's just as kind of an unknown.
Sure.
Because with both these, injuries play a huge part in. So I've always wanted to do one of these. And the time situation kind of got out of control, and I waited too long to kind of try to put things together. So that's on me, but I still want to do something. So if you guys and gals are interested, get a hold of me on Facebook, or if you do have my number, text me. I'll get you in. It's $20, winner take all. And if we do have quite a few people, we'll try to figure out something for like 2 and 3, so that there's more cash going out to more people, and not just me winning like $400. So, well, 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on that. Everyone have a great week, and as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.